Hello and welcome to the Southern Mountain Kitchen. Today we're making lasagna. Alright, I know you're thinking, okay, this is the Southern Mountain Kitchen, why are you making Italian? Well, my grandmother was Italian, so I learned to cook from her, and, that's probably why I'm doing it. It's kind of funny, she's Italian and the rest of my family was Native American, so that was kind of a weird mix. But anyway, to start with, you're going to put a little bit of olive oil in your skillet, to which you're going to add a half a cup of onions, which you are going to make sure are chopped up thoroughly, because we're going to kind of soften them up a bit to start with here. So put your heat at least medium to high, depending on how your stove works, and let's get this going. To this, you are going to add at least a teaspoon of minced garlic. You can chop up your own garlic, or you could get this out of a container. I myself got mine out of a container because I didn't have any pieces of garlic to chop up. To this, you are going to add a half pound of mild Italian sausage. And the kind that I got was already the ground up type. You don't have to take it out of the casing for a sausage link or whatever. I just did it that way because it was easier to work with. And to this, I am adding 1 pound of ground beef. Now you're going to want to chop these up a bit, make sure they're kind of flattened out to where it will start cooking on the bottom, because we want to brown these ingredients a bit. So go ahead and mix them through, get the onions into the meat, and just keep pushing it through, because as the meat cooks, so will the onions. So as it's going, I would continue to flip this over, chop it through to where you're literally covering the whole bottom of your pan and everything is really mixed through. To this, I am adding 1 teaspoon of steak seasoning. I know most people don't use this. However, it brings out the flavor of meat, especially ground beef, and that's kind of important because we really want to taste the meat when we're cooking this. So again, mix it through. Make sure when you're cooking this, you don't have large pieces of beef or sausage. You want to break them up as small as possible, so that way when you make your lasagna, it flattens out a lot easier when you're putting it in your layers. And you want to keep doing this until you brown all of your meat. If you have a lot of oil in your pan when you are done, you need to drain some of that off, because we don't really want that mixed in with your sauce that you're making. Alright, so we're going to add some more seasoning to our meat. You're going to use 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper, a half teaspoon of salt, and a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, just regular black pepper. And then you're going to mix that through. Again, if you have a lot of excess oil in your pan, you need to drain it out at some point. I already did it as I was cooking, so you can see there's really not much in the bottom of my pan. Now once you get everything brown and it's all mixed through, you're going to want to have your can of spaghetti sauce. This is the normal large can of spaghetti sauce you can buy off the rack at Walmart or wherever. The one that I used was a garlic and herb blend, and it just gives a little added extra taste to your sauce. Go ahead, mix that through with your sausage, ground beef, onions, and everything else that was in the pan, until you get everything thoroughly mixed through. And once you do get it mixed through, you're going to want this to simmer for a few minutes. So while it is simmering, you are going to add 1.5 teaspoons of sugar. And I know you're saying, why are you putting sugar in this? Because tomatoes are acidic. If you add a little sugar to it, you're going to counteract that a bit, and it's going to help the flavor, and it's going to taste really great. Lots of people do this. If you don't choose to, don't do it. I do it because it gives a better flavor. So, to each his own. If you want to leave it out, leave it out. It's your choice. This is now your recipe. You can do whatever you want. So once this is completely mixed through and you let it simmer for a few minutes, we're going to remove that and we're going to go ahead and get a pot so we can boil our noodles. To this, you're going to add enough water to cover how many noodles you're putting in. Here's the thing with the noodles. You're going to use as many as it's going to take to cover the pan that you're using, because you may have sauce left over, you might have something left over, but it's only going to fit in however big a pan you have. So start with your water, add some olive oil to it, add a little bit of salt so that way we get a good mix and flavor on this, and then put your noodles in. I think I needed, I want to say 9 or more pieces of noodle for the pan that I'm using. It just depends on how many it takes to get across your layers. Because like well, in my pan, if I put 3 of these side by side and then I put ingredients and then stack 3 more ingredients and stack 3 more, then you just work your way to the top. You can actually take these when they're dry and lay them out to find out how many you need and how many layers you want. So that way, you know, you get the right amount. So you're going to cook these per the directions of the box. I think they take about like 15 minutes in boiling water. Then while they are set to the side after you drain them, they'll be fine until you're ready to do this. You're going to take this is the debatable part here. In my family, we use cottage cheese in this. You can use ricotta. You're going to use this container. The point being is it's per choice. I always thought it tasted better with the cottage cheese. To this, you're adding 2 eggs, and then to that, you're going to add a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. We're going to stir this up because this is going to be like part of a layer. So mix it through. Make sure everything's stirred through your egg and everything else. The best thing about using the cottage cheese version is it's a little thicker. It's not as gritty tasting. It isn't as whatever. So that might not be so traditional, but that's just the way that we always did it. So, but I like it this way, and you might want to try it and see if you like it. Get your pan that you're going to use to put your lasagna in. Make sure you spray it because, you know, we don't want this sitting up shop and sticking to it. And then when you're done with that, one thing I would suggest is put some sauce in the bottom of your pan. If anything, this is just going to help the noodle cook better on the bottom as far as like, you know, it's going to not stick to your pan. It'll incorporate into the whole dish. So you don't need to put a whole lot down there, just enough to kind of like make a layer, because this is going to cook into your noodle anyway. Now, once you're done with that, you can start layering your noodles. Make sure at this point you have preheated your oven to 375 degrees to 400, depending on how hot your oven gets. Because once this goes in, you're going to cook it for about a half an hour. Mostly this is to get it bubbling inside and melt the cheese. So as you can see, after I put down my layer of noodles, now I'm coming in with the mix with the cottage cheese and others. And you're going to basically make a layer of this all the way across until you filled up that layer. Alright, so once you're done with putting on your cottage cheese layer, then we're going to add some sauce to this. So grab your spoon with your sauce and go ahead and put a good layer of it over top of the cottage cheese layer. So this way you've got a good mix going on here. Okay, now you're back to your noodles again. Go ahead and layer 3 pieces across on mine. I'm not sure how large your pan is. It'll take however much it takes to cover yours. And get your layer completely across. Now, it doesn't really matter how you layer this. You can put whatever you want, wherever you want. You can put cheese on one layer, you can put meat on one layer, you can build it however you want to, because in the end you're still going to have layers and it's going to be an amazing taste. So at this point I'm putting a layer of mozzarella on top of these noodles. When you're putting it out there, make sure you break it up, because basically with this I used probably almost a whole bag of mozzarella to do the inner layer, and on top of it, which is about 4 cups I think, So just be conscious of how much you're using. So once you get this cheese in place, you're going to go ahead and spoon some more sauce over top of it. And then once you have that done, you are putting more noodles on top. And now you're going to put more sauce on this, making sure you cover from end to end with the sauce you have. Mainly, putting the sauce up close to the noodles like this near the top is going to keep your noodles softer and make sure that you don't have as many crunchy parts. Now, mind you, if something is sticking out the edge of your container when it's cooking, it's liable to get a little crunchy. So try to tuck in as much as you can to make sure there's not really a lot of exposed noodle. So as I said, make sure that the sauce is pretty much covering the whole top of that. And then once again, we are going to put on cheese, and this is going to be like the top layer. So this is going to be melted all over top of what you're going to be eating. So just put as much as you can on top of it. Make sure, you know, you got from end to end cheese. This will melt down, and as you can see, once it's baked, this is what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. And it is an amazing lasagna. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you soon.